All right, we are live. Okay, so first things first. Thank you, Oni Nighter 1983 for the follow that happened off stream. So that's pretty cool. Growing, progress, gotta love it. So today, what I wanted to do was repurpose and show you guys sort of what I do. Like normally, under normal circumstances, I would um, get videos transcribed by a service like Timmy or Otter.ai or something. But today I'm just going to go not off the cuff, but off of the same timeline I did yesterday on my response to the most recent Logic Bomb podcast, and I realized they're doing another one today. Super excited about that. Of course, the Rainbow Six patch notes are coming out today, so I guess I'll talk about that first, just to go ahead and I'm also going to open up UPlay here and start downloading the update. I assume it's live or close to, because highly controversial patch. It's been talked about at length, but basically Buck is losing frag grenades and he's getting more skeleton key ammo, which, I mean, that's cool. All right, it is downloading, so hopefully that's not messing with the stream too much here. Butt's losing frag grenades and getting more skeleton key ammo. Ying is getting one extra Candela, a buff to her LMG, and she's getting smoke grenades instead of claymores. So, let me hold what I'm going to say about that. And then we have Jaeger, who's going to 2 armor 2 speed. Caveira's getting that sight. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the same one that Mozzie has on one of his weapons. It's a very unique sight. It's very good too. Hey, Fresh Yoda, what's up, man? Thanks for the follow. So, let's see. Jaeger going to a 2 speed. Let me talk about that for a minute. So, I have a theory. I have a prediction. It's like, it's obvious it's a nerf. Obviously it's a nerf to Jaeger, because speed is always the thing that's favored in Rainbow Six Siege. If you have speed, you have the peeker's advantage. You are gonna win gunfights more often. So that is something that is definitely going to affect Jaeger when it comes to gunfights. But see, the thing about Jaeger was he would lay down his ADSs, and then most Jaeger players would go and like play like a moron afterwards. Like they'd be doing runouts, like wild runouts without any information, just going and doing a bunch of crazy stuff, dying to spawn peats immediately oftentimes. And now that he's a 2 armor 2 speed, his roaming capabilities aren't going to be as good. He's not going to be able to get back to sight as fast, and I think it's going to make people who choose to still play Jaeger play smarter and play a little bit more informed and take a few less risks. So my prediction on this is that his pick rate's going to go down, but his win rate's going to go up, because on the last win delta, it was like he was off the charts picked, but he won just above the average, just above. I think that you're going to see a big boost in his win rate. Found the cutest video on YouTube. Oh, that sounds cool. Um, let's see. So anyway, back to Ying. So Intero has a theory, and I just saw his tweet is like, oh, and Mozzie's losing his super shorty is the other big thing. So Mozzie was definitely one of those ones who could literally like do everything. He could mold his entire game to the situation. His pests are super powerful. He had the super shorty to make rotate. His guns are good. He's a 2 speed as well, and you see how effective he can be at roam. It's not a death sentence if you're not a 3 speed. So that's also that supports my theory on Jaeger. But Mozzie losing the super shorty is going to cut down on that a lot. And Intero's theory, Parker Mackay, I think he pronounces it Mackay, but I'm just going to call him Intero because that's his name, apparently. So, um, his theory is basically that Buck, Jaeger, and Mozzie all needed a nerf, but it wasn't to their guns or their gunplay or their speed. It was to their primary gadgets. So with Ying coming in, she's having an extra Candela, right? Obviously, Jaeger's going to be a big counter to her outright, but I think this is going to force some people to step up and actually pick Warden, and it's time to get some use out of Flanders. I mean Warden. So um, I see Warden coming into the fold and having a much higher pick rate, much more use, especially after the first couple of days when Candelas are going off everywhere and smokes are everywhere, and people are like, oh yeah, we have an operator who can see through this shit. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and I suspect that's why they buffed Ying as much as they did, because it's going to be tough for Warden, uh, tough to buff Warden anymore. Like I've heard Zoronic suggest that um, that Warden's ability be automatic, like it just senses when a flashbang comes in, it automatically cuts on whenever a Candela goes off, etc., etc. That sounds like a cool concept, but I think it sort of takes away from the interactability, I suppose, of uh, of having control over the gadget. Once it becomes automatic, it like sort of takes the fun and strategy out of cutting it off and on a little bit. So I just think it's going to be interesting to see all the way around. And people are uh, have said that Mozzie's pests are way too powerful, and I just don't. I mean, they are. I mean, that they do the job that they're meant to do. Like I've heard it suggested that maybe that the pests deactivate after a certain amount of time. Like you can't just fire and forget them. Which I see the point to that, but taking away Mozzie's super shorty and making him less well rounded is going to lower his pick rate a lot. But we're about to see a lot of Ying, and a lot of people are going to be pretty frustrated at being blinded, and you're going to see for sure a bump in Warden. So that's my thoughts on the Rainbow Six Siege patch notes. Buck losing, like, out of all of it, I'm most upset about Buck losing his frags. But the developers thought that he did too much, and I mean, it's just one of those things like I talked about yesterday. Whenever it comes to my response to the latest Logic Bomb podcast, was frustration's going to exist, and frustration is a you problem. So if you get frustrated at the gameplay mechanics, that's up to you. I mean, there are developers and team members working on the game, always ensuring that it's fair and balanced and equal and all that kind of just, they're running tests all the time. It's way out of your control. So if you're being frustrated by a game plan mechanic, it's up to you to change your approach, which that's what frustration is. A lot of people, they say negative emotions, quote unquote negative emotions. Emotions are just action signals. They're trying to tell you what to do, and frustration is simply change your approach, do something else. So that's my thoughts on that. I made a whole video about that yesterday, but today what I'm going to do is I have to grab my notebooks 1 second. All right, so that's actually the wrong notebook. Sorry, got too many. I got a Siege notebook. I got a Streaming Agenda notebook, which I guess I should make the agenda. I already have, but I haven't said it out loud. So today's the 21st, and so we've done the Siege patch notes. We're going next into the repurposing of the content I did yesterday. I'm going to show you guys how I write my blogs and how I set it up in WordPress and what it's for, what it's going to, all that good stuff. Then I'm going to add to my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game plan 2.0. And we'll talk about that whenever I get there. So let me make sure I got the right stuff pulled up before. Wrong spot. And this will be sort of a rehashing of what I talked about yesterday. I'm just going to be typing it out. Like I said the same stuff yesterday, probably more colorfully than I'm going to do it today. But it's for a slightly different purpose. So, and then okay, so I am hooray, I did it. Okay, so everything needs a hook, a story, and an offer. And I'm also going to get rid of that follower goal because it's not working right. Should say 68. I'm not sure what's going on there, but something in the settings, I'm sure. So everything needs a hook, a story, and an offer. So the hook for this is, a hook can be a question. It can be a bold statement. I'm going to use a question. Are you tired of dealing with frustration in Rainbow Six Siege? Okay, so I'm going to have that be my hook, my headline, whatever you want to call it. The purpose of a hook is to simply start the conversation. Like you have to do that, or else people don't know what you're talking about. It's like whenever you go live, whether it's on here or on a Facebook Live or anything like that, and there's no headline, people have no reason to stop. They have no reason to engage. So your headline's pretty much everything. And I realize I'm either talking to one person right now or nobody as I do this live, but that's going to change as we go along here. But all the same. So I need to get the right notebook so I can go along. So next, whenever you're blogging and doing this stuff, you need to preface your points, the points that you're gonna make, with a story. And it's as easy as saying, "Let me tell you a story about blank." That's the most vanilla way to do it. You can do it differently. You can borrow stories. So in this case, this is a borrowed story. I was like, the other day I was watching a Logic Bomb podcast with Zoronic Get Flanked and Pete, and they had Laney Ditson on, who helps with balancing with the perceived frustration with the operators in Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm about to sneeze, for the record. So that's my story, right? As simple as that is. And I could actually stop there, but of course, what's a good story without conflict? And it wasn't necessary that I was like outright disagreeing with what they were saying, and I'm not. Like, everything they were saying in that podcast that they did was relevant, interesting, true, for the most part. There might have been a few minor things that I'm like, I don't think that's the answer to that, but that's my redneck Mississippi hillbilly interpretation of a game that I don't understand, is how it's built. I'm not a developer, not a programmer, none of those things. But I have dealt with, and as I'm sure you have, I have dealt with a lot of frustration in my life. So it's like, and I understand, like, I really do, because like, why would you be going in playing something like Rainbow Six Siege or anything else, or even if it was like your hobby, like playing guitar or something else like that? Why are you doing that? Because you want to get away for a little while. And I used to think that there was something wrong with that, but it's something that's necessary for people to do. Like, you have to have your escape. You have to get away for a little while, if for nothing else, just so your subconscious brain can bubble up an answer to your most pressing problem. So don't feel guilty for that. Let me take that away from you. If I don't do anything else today, let me take your guilt away from enjoying your hobbies. Because I used to have extreme guilt about it for various reasons I'm not going to get into. But at the same time, you get on, you're wanting the best gameplay experience, you're wanting the best experience with your hobby, like, every time. But, big but here, you run into frustrating gameplay mechanics. You run into dickheads and trolls and all these other things across the internet. If you're like me, yesterday you were affected by the Rainbow Six Siege server outage that just happened to affect Comcast users. So I was like, and I promised I was gonna get on and stream and do all that stuff, and so it was a bummer. I was a little frustrated, but I found something else to do in my time. I still enjoy the game by watching other people play it, so I had to change my approach, just like I was saying. So I'm gonna type that out, but very quickly here. So the other day I was watching the latest episode of with Laney Ditson. What's her official title? So I'm gonna go, and I'm also going to be whenever I post this into the blog, I'm going to be posting what I'm talking about, so the reader can watch what I've watched and get on the same page and sort of understand the game perhaps from a new perspective. Um, and it's just cool to, if you mention somebody, if you mention something, it's cool to tag them. So what's the purpose of doing it beyond being cool with it? Well, this podcast in particular, this one video already has 24,000 views, 25,000. So it's not not necessarily.
This is Open Fit.
Stop.
Complete health and fitness.
Stop. I'm borrowing traffic is what I'm doing. So like this 24,000, 25,000, 26,000, whatever this is, it's not a whole lot, but it's still something, right? So let's see if I can go to her Twitter and find out what her exact title is. It's sort of like a community manager, but in a way that game user researcher for Ubisoft. There we go. So game user researcher for Ubisoft Montreal and Rainbow Six Siege. Zeronic get flanked and are amazing at doing what they do on the Logic Bomb podcast. I really enjoy it. I really do. I don't always agree with everything that everyone says, but hey, that's just the way it goes. This episode really stuck out to me. So there we go. There's my story. So if you can't read it on the screen, like it's really small on mine, but so the hook, the punch in the face, the conversation starter is, are you tired of dealing with frustration in Rainbow Six Siege? The other day I was watching the latest episode of Logic Bomb podcast with Laney Ditson, game user researcher for Ubisoft Montreal and Rainbow Six Siege. Zeronic Get Flanked and Prodigio Peter are amazing at doing what they do on Logic Bomb podcast. And in the video that I did, I go much deeper into that. But this is the version that people are reading. Like, people who are reading want to get the points short, fast, quick, and hard. So I'm not elaborating too much here. Like, I'm going to put the video I did with it. So if people want to watch the video version of this, they can. They were talking about frustration as it relates to gameplay mechanics, and individual operators, and I had some thoughts that go along with it. Uh, from a slightly different perspective. I appreciate these guys' dedication to having the greatest experience possible in the game that I love so much, and I wanted to add to their conversation. So that is my story, right? That's it. That's why I'm here. So, number one, frustration is a you problem. Now I realize that's a pretty bold statement there. So, of course, it's a main point, so I'm going to bold that. And really, it's better to wait to format. There we go. Until after you're done. So I'm going to do that, but I was just trying to be funny in a way. So, and here's a point that they even brought up in the podcast. I'm just going to type this out. Okay. So, just to recap part one, frustration is a you problem. It's easy, is what I meant to say there. It's easy to focus on frustration, but that's not the answer. What you focus on, you feel. If you choose to focus on frustration, you're going to feel it more strongly. And that only leads to more frustration. Your brain will literally be set to look for things that frustrate you, and that does not lead down the path to happiness. Yes, your opinions are valid. When you articulate them to developers and researchers in charge of balancing gameplay and frustration, it is up to them to make the changes. It's up to you to deal with it, adapt, and adjust. So that's basically big point number one that I made yesterday. Give me just a second. I'll be right back, and I'll talk about points 2 and 3. Be right back. All right, so I elaborated on this yesterday more, but like I said, the blog version, short to the point, very punchy. Next, my next biggest point is when you are focused on frustration, you are focused on what you can't control. That's the next big point I was trying to make or made yesterday. So, as human beings, we all want to be in control. And that is sort of what a lot of their conversation was about whenever it related to individual operators and gameplay mechanics. Whenever something happens, whenever an operator is so unbalanced that it feels like there's literally nothing that you could have done, there's nothing within your control, that's where the frustration comes into play. But you have to make sure that you're not focused on that. And I'm going to use Clash because Clash is like the most frustrating operator to play against on defense. According to the user research that Lainey proposed on that podcast. And I would agree. I mean, I see Clash get banned all the time. And she's frustrating because she's so different in regards to her ability and what she brings to the table on defense. And it can be like if you're trying to take on a Clash by yourself and you're out of utility, you don't have the right operator or right means to deal with it, yeah. I mean, it can be frustrating. But frustration is that action signal, like I said, to change your approach. And yesterday I drew a comparison to mixed martial arts, and in this I talked about Ryan Hall, and it's like you have these expectations whenever you're watching an MMA fight to where you're like, these guys are going to throw hands, they're going to throw punches and kicks, and they're going to go for takedowns, they're going to try and choke each other, etc., etc. You have those same expectations as a fighter. I mean, I competed in 2 amateur fights before I blew my knee out, but the point I'm trying to make here is sometimes people just don't play that game. You know what I mean? Like they don't play that. So there's this dude named Ryan Hall who is like a, expert grappler, but he's so weird in what he does. Whenever he's fought in MMA before, last time I saw him fight, he used this front leg side kick to keep someone away, which is super frustrating in itself. Like that front leg side kick was just used to keep the opponent away, keep them from being able to strike. That can be frustrating enough whenever somebody can keep you at distance with their kicks. Now, are you going to end a fight with a front leg side kick? Not usually, but you can frustrate the hell out of somebody. And then he wasn't going for wrestling style takedowns, clinch style takedowns. He was going for these, rolling leg locks, which is a super weird thing to do, right? But he's so good at it. And whenever he gets on somebody's legs, it's pretty much over. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to just get mad and let him twist your shit off and tear your ACL? Was sort of the point I was making here. And whenever you focus on what the other person is doing, you're already fucked. You're already like, oh, you're not focusing on what you can't control. So, just give me a second to kind of write some stuff here. No need to capitalize that. Okay, so this is what I came up with here. If you take a look at mixed martial arts, aka MMA, different fighters bring different skills and attributes to the table, similar to operators in Rainbow Six Siege. There's the age-old adage of styles make fights. It's like the grappler versus striker. So if you're worried about what the opponent's going to do or might do, you've already lost. You have to put yourself, or you have put yourself into reaction mode and out of proactive mode, and you're focusing on what you can't control. And if someone is a leg locker, which can be super frustrating to deal with, are you just going to cry about it, or are you going to learn how to deal with it? So, it's same. Here we go. It's the same. So I added to that. It's up to you to get innovative to deal with what you have in front of you. It's up to you to focus on what you can do. The second you start thinking, what if I get punched in the face, is when you get punched in the face. Like whenever I'm sparring and stuff, and I'm thinking about, oh, I'm going to try and cut this angle, I'm going to throw this combination. It's weird. I'm not really thinking as such as I'm just letting it go on autopilot. That's when I'm doing good. I'm just doing stuff and trying different things, poking and prodding and seeing where I can find some weaknesses. Now, whenever all of a sudden you get hit and you're like, ow, that really hurt. I don't want that to happen again. And you start focusing on that. You're like, man, what if I get hit like that again? What if I get hit harder? Bam! Like that's when it happens again. Every single time. So you have to focus on what you can control. In striking and stuff like that, you can focus on how you carry your body. You can focus on your movement. You can focus on when you throw your strikes. That's what you can control. You can't control what the other person is going to do. And the second that you start thinking about that is the second that you start getting fucked up. Thank you. Who is that? Thanks for following Pills and Chills. Glad to have you here. Okay. So, we'll see, man. I really don't even have any mods yet, but I'll think about it. Hang around for a little bit. Let me learn a little bit more about you. We'll see what happens. So, all right. So that was point number 2. Are you into Siege or like, see, that's what I'm talking about. You're like, what exactly is this stream about? Well, I talk about a variety of different things. My game, the game that I play, obviously, is Rainbow Six Siege. But I get on here, I talk a lot about MMA and Jiu-Jitsu. I talk a lot about weight loss. I personally lost 100 pounds. I've fought in MMA. I've been a band director. I can play bass guitar. I do a whole lot of things. So I'm still trying to really figure it out. Gold 4. I don't think that Gold 4 exists anymore. I think it's just gold 3, gold 2, and gold 1 these days. I know there used to be a gold 4 though. But right now I did a response to the Logic Bomb podcast, and I'm repurposing it into a blog form, and I'm going to stick it up on my blog, and I'm just kind of going through that and rehashing what I talked about today. And then I'm going to add to my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game plan and talk a little bit about that, and that'll be it for this morning stream. I'll be back later today for a bit to play some Siege before I go off and have to do something else. But I do appreciate the offer for the help, man. Like, keep showing up. We'll see. It takes me a minute to trust people. So, but I do appreciate the offer. Okay. So. All right. So, I talked about this over and over again, basically in different forms, but I've been following this process the whole time. So remember, we started with a hook, which a hook can be a question. It can be a bold statement. In this case, it was a question. There is a story that kind of gets people on the same page. A true story. I'm not making it up, but you can borrow other people's stories. And then, it's good to have at least 3 individual points, but your point might be so clear and so good that you can get away with just doing it in one, but I like to have 3. You can certainly have more than 3. But these are my big 3 points. Frustration is a you problem. When you're focused on frustration, you're focused on what you can't control. And frustration means to change your approach. So there's a formula I've been following as I've been writing all this out, is like there's a feature, which is like the what it is. There's a benefit for who? Not for me, a benefit for you. A benefit for you on, why. Like, it's answer why. It's like this because blank. That's what you would call a benefit. So I might draw some comparisons and metaphors to kind of bring the point across. And then there's like a meaning, and that means this. So basically here, if you take a look at this right here, it's like if you take a look at MMA, different fighters bring different skills and attributes to the table, similar to operators in Rainbow Six Siege. And there's the age-old adage of styles make fights. So there's like the grappler and the striker. It was like the oldest one. It's like, who would win in a match between a grappler and a striker? Well, that was the question back whenever MMA first started. Now it's like morphed into like a conglomeration of everything. It's mixed martial arts. It's a little bit of everything. But what happens when a fighter fights differently than anyone else? It's like, what happens when they make you play their game? That's not what you want. And if you're worried about what the opponent's going to do or might do, you've already lost. You've put yourself into reaction mode, and you've gone out of proactive mode. You've literally taken the ability to respond out of your hands when you've done so. You're focusing on what you can't control. And if someone is a leg locker, which can be super frustrating if you're somebody who's like, I just want to stand and bang and wrestle and get you down on the ground and choke the life out of you. Whenever somebody is a leg locker, that can put a real dent in your game. And so the question is, are you going to cry about it? Or are you going to learn how to deal with it? And here comes the meaning. It's the same thing when it comes to frustration and Siege. It's up to you to get innovative to deal with what you have in front of you. It's up to you to focus on what you can do, and the second that you start thinking, what if I get punched in the face, when you get punched in the face. So, excuse me. So, frustration literally means, so I've been following the feature benefit meaning formula through all these sections once I started my points, but also on the higher level too. Like, that's a feature, a benefit, a meaning. So this is what it is, and this is what it does, And now this is what it means. So, frustration means to change your approach. So, I'm just going to type for a minute. It's better if I just type and then go back over it. All right. So what happens when you run into bad teammates? Like that's another flaw to get into another day. Is like when you start blaming your teammates, whether it's in Rainbow Six Siege, whether it's people that are on your team in business, people that are on your team in any other sport, that's where you start going sideways. Like, because even if it is their fault, even if it is, you've messed up. It's not going to lead you to the path of happiness, even if you're right. Even if, like, this is logical, this is facts, it was their fault. It's like, congratulations, you have identified the problem. But you'll never fix the problem if all you do is focus on the problem. And that's like going all the way back up to point number one. So what happens when your team pits dumb operators? Because let's face it, it's like, not every operator in the game is viable for every situation if we're coming at it from a pro league competitive standpoint. There's nothing you can do. It's like, what happens if a game breaking glitch happens? And I kind of think of, like, even when the other team pits dumb operators or they're not playing the game right, quote unquote. They're in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for example. Like, sometimes it's harder to roll against people who are just athletic and new and strong in jiu-jitsu because they're not playing by the rules, if you will. They're doing their own thing, and that can be harder to predict. And once somebody's been training and they start learning good technique, they start becoming a little bit more predictable. They start playing the game as it was intended to be played, which is, again, a developer problem. And, like, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like, there is no developer. It's like, it's just life. It's just body mechanics. It's just human beings being human beings. There's nothing you can do to change it. And, like, if there's a game-breaking glitch, I mean, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, it can be frustrating. But it's up to you to interpret it in an empowering way. And the only way to do that is to recognize it for what it is. Change your approach. Try something else. I mean, pick a different operator, get new teammates, take ownership of your ability to change things, and own up when you mess up. Like, it is very freeing, very freeing to say it was my fault. And a lot of people shy away from that. The other day, I was top fragging on Outback, and it was a highly contested game. And it went all the way to the last round in overtime. Like, it went all the way. And like I said, I've been top fragging. My teammates weren't doing as well, but it's not to the point yet where you can go back and watch the film. So I don't know if they were just having a run of bad luck, or if they were completely stupid, or if they were watching my flank the whole time and allowing me to get kills. Like, all those things are possible. I don't know. I wasn't berating them by any means, although that sort of shit happens to me all the time. And so emotionally, and I feel like people feel emotionally obligated to respond to everybody the same way and assume everybody's got their stingers out, especially online all the time. Like, internet balls is a real thing. So we make it all the way to the end of the game, and it's 3 versus 1. Like, there are 3 of us alive, 3 of us. And Legion was the last one left. He was in office. And so we start to close in. Whoever was playing Capital, I think. I could be wrong. It could have been Sledge. Whoever made the first pink. Whoever made the first peak made a bad peak. Like, it was stupid. He got fucked up immediately. And so I'm throwing flashbangs in, trying to blind him. And I don't have a good angle coming in. I really don't. But I'm trying to blind him. And meanwhile, whoever's playing Iana is just holding back. And I'm like, he's stunned, he's blind, etc., etc. And so at the same time, I'm jumping in and I start unloading with Lion's gun. I was playing Lion. And I missed every shot. He wasn't where I thought he was. And then, like, every time I did line up with him, he got behind cover right at the right time. And I missed the shots. Ended up swapping to my pistol, and he killed me. And then 20 seconds later, Iana comes in and dies by making the same dumb peek that the Sledge did. So at the end of the game, the person who had, I don't even know where they were on the scoreboard. I just know that they had not done as well as I had from a statistics standpoint. That's all I know. But he came in and he was like, Lion, that was your fault. And I was like, yeah, because it was all my fault. And then he thought that I meant, like, that I was trying to place blame on the rest of the team. He's like, you had like 30 bullets left in your gun. You could have done this. You could have done that. You could have done... And I was like, no, dude. Like I said, it's all my fault. And then he had nothing else to say. And it felt good to say that because, I mean, I played it wrong. I blew it. Last round, we lost. It was heartbreaking. It was one of those heartbreaking defeats, but it was... Hello. Hello, doggies. Doggies just came in here doing stuff. I don't know what they're doing. But all the same, just by taking ownership, I took away all his ammunition. Like, anything like he would have said after that, he just would have looked dumb. So, I mean, it is what it is. So, that is my response to the Logic Bomb podcast. And now, so we have a hook, we have a story, we have the points, the actual content itself. Now we need an offer. So this is sort of the part to where I have places that I could send them. I just don't know what you guys want, because I'm talking to you guys. Whoever's in here watching me stream right now, I'm talking to you. So this is an unofficial, what they would call an ask campaign. I'm like, what do you want to see from me? So do you want weight loss stuff? Like I said, I personally lost 100 pounds. I'm about to teach fitness kickboxing online here in a little while to a group, but I'm recording those and throwing those in a membership area. I am, I'm streaming Siege, but I'm not a pro player or anything like that. I just love the game. Um, I've entertained the idea of getting back into music. I don't know. So for right now, I all I have is a little membership area that's not open right now, but I could put you guys on a wait list. I could send you to a weight loss checklist, but I would rather it be in line with the content. And I feel like, I've paid, you know, a lot of money, and I don't say that to impress you. I'm just trying to say that I have invested heavily in marketing from the best in the world and learning how to craft these messages. And I'm turning that knowledge towards growing a stream, which obviously I'm just starting out. I'm not saying like, oh, I got this whipped and I'm making millions of dollars and have hundreds and thousands and legions of fans throwing money at me. It's like, no, but I'm taking that marketing knowledge and giving it to you guys. So I am teaching some stream growth strategies as well. And so for the meantime, all I have is my membership area, which is currently closed right now until I figure out a solid direction, a solid message to put that in. So I'm going to give you guys an offer. So, by the way, if you want to get more fans, followers, and grow your stream while having a blast with your hobby, join the wait list to get join the wait list here. HTTPS gearitupinsider.com/insider secrets membership. So that's it. That's my blog. I don't know what else to do at this point. If I knew that you guys wanted weight loss, I'd do weight loss. If I knew that you guys wanted kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA stuff, I would do that. If I knew you guys wanted stream growth strategy, I would do that. Or if you just want to come in here and put up with me and hang out with all the stuff that I put out there in no particular order for absolutely free, that's cool too. That's it. So, all right, now I'm going to post this. So, I'm going to come here. I already did this, so this is an example of something that I've done before. Like back during this the Sits Invitational, they had a cosplay thing, and this chick basically was training in MMA to get, physically fit to be a believable Sophia and Nomad and a couple of other operators. So this one wasn't as involved. This was like a content sandwich sort of thing. It's like if you want to physically embody your favorite operator, you have to. Most people think that you have to go on restricted diets. That's not true. In fact, online trolls are praying that you never see this video. That helps you become your favorite operator, support your favorite game in your own unique way, and gain the love and support of loyal fans. But here it is, and then it's like, bam. So there's the content that someone else did. Like, I didn't even do it, but I'm borrowing the traffic. And this video represents just a summary of what Rainbow Six super fans need when it comes to cosplay, blah, 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 blah. Nobody wants to be an overweight Jaeger, even though he did just lose some speed. Literally today. It just came out. I talked about the patch notes earlier. So, by the way, our checklist answers all the cosplay questions for anybody who wants to physically embody your favorite operator. Grab the checklist here. And so they come here. So, hook story offer. And then You know, like this is a picture of me. I had lost a little bit of weight at this point. I wasn't quite at the 100 pounds mark, but they just come here, they put in a name and email, and it emails them the checklist, which is a really good checklist that we spend a lot of time on some really simple fixes. Number one thing to change in your nutrition to jumpstart weight loss. It's not what you think. How these 3 simple words can help you get in shape and get the body you want fast. Get the ultimate quit start checklist, goes into all this and much more inside. And so that's how I give stuff away. So that's the path that this is following. This is like sort of the same thing, but this is how I post it in the WordPress. So and WordPress is free too. I mean, there are packages that you can buy, and it's probably time for me to upgrade. But since I haven't found a solid direction yet, maybe not. I mean, if something starts working, I'll invest into it and do that. You get a free domain, aka you get rid of like the .wordpress.com. So all I'm gonna do, and it took me a little longer today to do this because I was talking through it, but that's okay because we got a ball in training with it. And I'm just going to copy and paste all this in there, and WordPress is super cool about just putting it in there. Just like it was like this. So it's always better to get what you're going to say out there. Like so I'm going to come back and add the stuff into it here in just a second, and show you guys how this becomes discoverable. So I'll be right back. Okie dokie. So I'm back. So here is the spot to where I'm like, okay, here was this episode of the Logic Bomb podcast. So at this point, I mean, it all makes sense. So they could choose to watch this if they wanted to get on the same page, essentially. So now we're on the same page. We talk about this, and then I'm going to come here and I'm going to find my response. So what I did was I did a stream yesterday, very similar to this one. And I exported the highlight to YouTube. So it automatically went. Obviously, my internet's going a little slow because I'm streaming. I'm going to come here and grab my video. There it is. And I believe that it's actually set to private, so I'm going to have to change that. This is unlisted. So we'll do that. It's unlisted instead of private. So now people can see this. And my full response, which this is the big summary right here. This is my elaboration on it. And now finally here's my call to action. So there you go. So I'm going to go to document right here, and I'm going to add tags. So obviously it's Rainbow Sits Siege. And we can probably throw Ubisoft in here. It's frustration. Gameplay mechanics. Rainbow Sits Siege best operators, because that's what people are Googling. And if you need some help on this, like I have this tool I'm going to show you guys real quick. I'm actually going to use a different one today. Give me 1 second, I gotta find it. Okay, so here is the Super Keyword Scraper by Jim Edwards and the Jim Edwards Method Premium Guaranteed Response Marketing. So I'm going to type in Rainbow Sits Siege, and it's super cool what it does. It searches Amazon, YouTube, Bing, eBay, Google, and Yahoo all at the same time for Rainbow Sits Siege, and it's going to show and rank some different things. So right here you can see, it's ranking it on like where is it showing up at. So Rainbow Sits Siege Outbreak, it would be a good one because it appears in a lot of places, and obviously you can see these different things. I even talked about Jaeger some, but people who are buyers, people who are closer to taking action, as like Rainbow Sits Siege best attacker, best defender. It's like people are about to buy something. People are taking action. So, and especially since I talked about the win delta here, Rainbow Sits Siege win delta. That would be a good one to add. Now, there's another cool thing that this does as well. Like if I'm like, and I'll actually do that. Rainbow Sits win delta. I'm gonna go back to the buyer keywords here and go best moments, best attacker, best defender, best settings. I'll even do this. I can see what sort of problems people are running into, error codes. I actually got this error code yesterday. And then info seeking. We'll go here. Bam. Okay, so now I'm going to show stash right here. Where is it? Ah. Oh, wait, wrong thing. Stash. So I'm gonna have to go back through stash. There we go. We got it going on now. All right, so we can show the stash right here. Okay. All I gotta do probably is copy. I come over here. Nope, that did not work. I gotta, okay, so I have to add where'd you go, super keyword scraper? Okay, this is what I'm gonna do instead. All I have to do is add a comma in between these. That's it. That's what's missing. Whoops. So a minor inconvenience, but otherwise it would have taken me a long time to research that and see that it was in all of those places. Okay, so now that I got this makes it super duper easy. So I'm gonna come here. Now it worked. Now it worked. Which I'm now realizing that my camera was in front of all that. Anyway, I go to publish, and I'm gonna publish it, and there you go. That's that. You know what? I'm gonna change something. By the way, let's see. I'm gonna go to preview. You know what I want right now? I want people to come here and hang out with us. That's what I want. I want people to come here and hang out on this stream. So that's what I'm going to do for my offer. My offer is like, hey, come hang out. By the way, if you want to hang out with me, learn about weight loss, MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, music, and of course Rainbow Six Siege, and of course watch some Rainbow Six Siege. Come hang out at twitch.tv/coach_werewolf. We're going to hyperlink that, make it go here. We're going to update. Going to make sure this works. It looks like it's going to work. Yep, it worked. Okay, so that's that. That is the repurposing of the blog. And I am going to tell people about that as well on Twitter right after we get done. Okay, so I showed you guys how awesome the super keyword scraper is, and I've been following a content that my friend Jim taught me. And whether it's the Jim Edwards Method Premium, whether it's funnel scripts, whether it's blogging or writing your own book, this book right here is the manual. Let me go here. This book right here is the manual to all that. So this book, Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards, is how everyone can use the power of words to get more clicks, sales, and profits no matter what you sell or who you sell it to. This book has been my Bible to be able to reach people like you who are watching this, who want to learn all about what I do, because even when I was a nutrition counselor and I dedicated myself to being the best nutrition counselor / personal trainer, it didn't matter. Like, that did not equate to getting the right people's attention, the people who I could help, the people who could be fans, the people who could come watch my stream. And this book is the manual that lets you know all that. And yes, the super keyword scraper and all the other cool software that Jim has is awesome and very powerful, but this is the operator manual on how to use this. So if you want to get this book for free, you can check it out in my panels below. And if you want exclusive bonuses from me, exclusive trainings that go along with this, all you have to do is go to gearedupinsider.com/copywriting-secrets. I'll actually drop that in the comment or the chat right now. Okay. All right, what else? One last thing. So my headshot report from yesterday, I played as Nomad on Chalet, and in my 15-minute game, or 15-minute time limit, I was able to get 106 headshot. 106. We're going up. We're getting better. And dadgummit, dropped my phone. Whenever I actually tried to play yesterday, we were having the server issues, so that did not go so well. But I was able to get in a few extra headshots later that night once everything cleared up, but I was way too tired to be on point to play. It is what it is. So yesterday I started working on the guard portion of my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game, and I showed the main rubber guard path. I play rubber guard mainly from guard. I do have others, and I talked about the main path yesterday, but now I want to talk about the New Jersey path. What happens whenever you're in New York, and which is you have mission control plus you've zombied the arm to the mat and you have the foot on the hip. But what a lot of people will do is they'll try and stuff the foot that's on the hip in between their legs, and whenever that happens, that position New York becomes New Jersey. And you don't want to be in New Jersey, according to Eddie Bravo. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not trying to intentionally throw rocks here, but it is what it is. So, New Jersey to meat hook. So what the meat hook is you reach over your shin and you go elbow, like your elbow to shin, and then you take your hand and you cuff it in front of their armpit, and you also stiff arm the bicep. That's going to stop them in their tracks, and that's going to stop their pass. So what I do from there is I have a pop triangle. If their hand is close, it's a pop triangle. If they base out their arm, I do a slow triangle. which, I mean, all these things have different moving parts and they're kind of tough to explain just talking right here. But, and if those two things don't work, I transition to Hindu control, made famous by Ben Eddy. And then I go to a Hindulotine, which is a guillotine with the assistance of the leg over. And it's a super cool position. You just got to be really flexible to hit it. So that's my add-on to my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game plan for today. That little series right there. So that's it for today. I've downloaded the new patch for Rainbow Sits. I'm about to get my headshots in, and I'm calling it a morning stream. So thank you, Fresh Yoda and Pills and Chills, for the follow. Thank you again, Pills and Chills, for the offer to be a mod. Keep showing up. I'll strongly consider it. So I'll see you guys for the Rainbow Six Siege stream at 4:15, if all goes well. So I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.